You awaken in Razor Hill. Part 2. Part 2 of like 30. Recall that your mother was essentially right about you never amounting to anything, and hurl yourself into the abyss. This world is just too fucked up for you to go on. It's nothing but grind, shoot, and then at the end of the day, what do you have? A repair bill, an empty ammo pouch, and a cat that won't stop nagging you to stuff more goddamn meat down his throat. You're getting off this merry-go-round. You get a good running start and hurl yourself with your eyes tightly closed into the abyss. You sail through space and smack face first into the ground. You open your eyes and look around. You don't appear to have gone anywhere. Scratch Fever is staring at you with somewhat measure of awe. He did not know you had the ability to throw yourself off cliffs and then land exactly where you leaped from. Scratch Fever is dutifully impressed, as that is far more useful talent than merely landing on your feet. Scratch Fever has gained 1 level of loyalty. Scratch Fever is now your bosom companion. Wonder aloud how come the narrator doesn't know that hunter pets don't have loyalty levels anymore, and then realize the narrator has only ever played 2 classes. You waste some time talking to yourself because nobody else is around to listen to you. Scratch Fever gazes adoringly at you, pleased that you recently allowed him to unlearn Cower rank 4 and finally got around to upgrading his bite, which had been rank 3 for far too long. Congratulate the narrator on ironic humor using clearly recognizable out-of-date hunter pet mechanics. I don't know how to congratulate the narrator on ironic humor using clearly recognizable out-of-date hunter pet mechanics. Okay, so... Shit, did my mouse just die? It wasn't working for like a couple seconds. What they're doing right here, since this story takes place in Wrath of the Lich King, they're talking about a mechanic that existed in the 2 expansions previous to this one, Vanilla and the Burning Crusade. And in those, your pet had loyalty levels that you had to use. They were kind of like talent points that you would spend into abilities in order for them to learn it. You could only learn so many things. So you could like rank up your Cower to higher levels or rank up your Bite, and you needed higher loyalty levels in order to do it. They're basically talent points, they were just called loyalty levels. And then Wrath of the Lich King, they got rid of loyalty levels and just gave them straight up talent trees instead, where they got a new talent every 4 levels. So all of this stuff is outdated because pets don't have any of that anymore in the current WoW expansion. So unless you know that, this is kind of, it'll probably go right over your head. Luckily I made a video on the history of hunter pets, so I know all this stuff. And if you want to get the jokes, you should go watch that video. I should remake it, it's not very good, now that I look back on it. Playing an amusing game of knots and crosses with Scratch Fever while you wait for dark. Sadly, Scratch Fever's newfound adoration for you does not override his competitive, feline instincts, and he crushes you swiftly in each match. The score stands at 32, at 23-2 in his favor. He let you win once because he felt bad for you. Your other win you blatantly cheated to get, but he was too polite to call you on it. You have successfully wasted enough time for darkness to fall. The sun sets over Durotar, or at least the part of Durotar that still actually exists. Shadows lengthen in the canyon behind you, painting stark, unsettling images all along the walls. Examine the unsettling shapes with the finger on the feigned death mentally preparing to mimic death if anything suspicious arises. You are so ready to flop like a champion flopper whose sole purpose in life, or that life, is to flop like he means it, hard and fast, all day and night. You will even void your bowels if necessary. You are so ready to void your bowels. The menacing shadows, however, remain securely on the canyon walls precisely where they cast, and do not attempt to molest your person. Scratch Fever is eyeing you with no small amount of disgust. Afraid of the dark? Oh, come on now. Scratch Fever has lost 1 level of loyalty. Scratch Fever is now your steadfast chum. It's just shadows. Shadows. That's all they are. You're looking at the rocks casting them. They're just shadows. There is absolutely nothing to be afraid of here. It's just Illidan screwing around again, or those Dalaran maniacs playing merely hell with the laws of time and space yet again, or else it's something, anything, and any number of things that could possibly happen in this ridiculous world you live in. Thrall will make a speech, and Garrosh will act like a surly little child, and Jaina will say something vaguely naive, and then poof, everything will be just like how it was. It's just shadows. There's nothing to be afraid of here. Your hands tremble only slightly as you unhook your rifle from its sheath on your back. The sound of the bullet ratcheting into its chamber gives you some measure of comfort. Question mark. Help file. Warning. File corrupted. Errors found. Thank you for playing You Awaken in Razor Hill, an exciting new adventure from the makers of You Read a Book in That Silver Moon City Public Library, and the bestseller You Had Way Too Much to Drink Last Night in Ironforge. Number 1. So you've just woken up. You've likely discovered that you're low on ammo. You have no food and only water enough to wash the shovel-tusk musk off your leg. And there's nothing and no one either in sight or on your tracking. Don't panic. First and foremost, before you do anything else, it is enormously important that you, Scratch Fever may protest. But it is imperative that you can't blah 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 gibberish. Though you may not have one on you, you should do your best to more gibberish. /target Gammon. Gammon, that backstabbing son of a furbog. He's got to be behind this somehow. You resolve to shoot him several more times than is absolutely necessary the next time you murder him for no reason whatsoever. L. Check quest log. Quest log, 2 out of 25. The war chief must be informed of this at once. Razor Hill is a ghost town, and Durotar appears to be devoid of all life. You need to get to Orgrimmar and inform the war chief at once. The only problem is that Orgrimmar doesn't appear to currently exist. You're not sure what reward this quest will net you, but it is sure to be a doozy. Mr. Monster likes to dance. This is an old quest you've had sit in your log since at least the last expansion, and probably longer. You're not sure why you've never abandoned it. It appears to be the midway point of a very long chain. You can't precisely recall where it began, and have never really been sure how to proceed. The quest text is just bizarre jumble of roleplay flavor text that doesn't seem to make much sense at all. It probably made sense in the context of the quest chain, but you can't actually remember doing any part of it. Camp until daybreak. Yes, sir, when the world goes crazy on you, the best thing to do is just sit there, out in the open, until there is just absolutely no light anywhere. No, seriously, finding shelter in a suddenly alien landscape is for little girls. Real men sit with their backs to the bottomless cliffs and wait until it's pitch black. They cannot see more than a few feet in front of their face. It is dark out. The canyon before you yawns open, filled with the abyssal darkness. The kind that shifts around deep in caves at the bottom of the ocean, where light has never touched. Thick, icky darkness that will swallow up a torch like a little kid's face with a bucket of candy. Scratch Fever looks upon you with joy in his heart. Like a true cat, you have waited for the oily blackness to shroud your every moment. You two together shall be like wrathful ghosts stalking the shadows. He is proud to have your name next to his in the nameplate. Scratch Fever has gained 2 levels of loyalty. Scratch Fever is now your best friend forever. You are positive you are hearing noises. There are noises coming from that canyon right in front of you. The one that is full of nothing but darkness. That one. Noises are coming from it. You are sure of it. You strain to hear, but you can't really make it out. It is just beyond, or just beneath your keen eyes and heightened senses. Track Beast is still coming up blank. Nervously loop through track everything, including things that aren't usually on Azeroth. You swap to track Humanoids, which is still empty. You hesitate for a good long time before you swap to track Hidden, but it is thankfully completely empty. So is Demons, which was always a source of great consternation. You swap to track Giants and Elementals, because why not? And Dragonkin, because you're pretty sure this is exactly what Malagos was trying to do. Still nothing. Then, you swap to track Undead, and your senses light up like a Christmas tree. If your mini-map was a physical object, and not just a gaming abstraction, you could use the lights of all those blips like a flashlight. You do not have accurate number for the amount of undead you are apparently standing in, right now, but there are easily hundreds in your immediate vicinity. It sure is a good thing you sat out here until it got so dark. Feign death. The time has come. You gargle on your own larynx, clutch your throat like your entire esophagus has spontaneously transmuted into cyanide and pitch yourself face first into the dirt. There is silence for a very long time, following which nothing happens. The 6 minutes feigned death allows you to begin pass swiftly and uneventfully. You're absolutely positive you are hearing some kind of noise, but it's impossible to make out. It could very likely just be the wind roaring peacefully through the canyon trails to Razor Hill. Cast Eyes of the Beast and send Scratch Fever to investigate the source of the noise. Not entirely sure if anything was especially convinced of your masterful feigning of death, you elect to ruin the illusion by sitting up, staring at Scratch Fever and concentrating hard. Scratch Fever whimpers. He hates this part. You force your consciousness into his mind, sending his own into some kind of limbo, rendering him fully conscious but powerless to act. You flex out his claws. Alright then, time to see some abyssal darkness. You turn Scratch Fever's head towards the canyon leading back towards Razor Hill, and are immediately dismayed to learn that cats can't actually see in the dark. Their eyes can simply pick up much fainter light than the humans. There is absolutely no light, faint or otherwise, in the canyon beyond. You pilot your cat like an old pro, keeping him low to the ground and pressed against the canyon wall, and send him to investigate noises you are absolutely positive you are hearing right now. Shuffling, like cloth brushing against stone. You are definitely hearing cloth on stone. You are not imagining it on this. You are absolutely positive. Leaving your comatose body behind, you pilot Scratch Fever into the canyon. You get about 3 feet down the path before you find yourself wholly engulfed in the sort of ink-black darkness that only exists in comic books. Looking up, you can't even see the stars in the sky. That shuffling noise is coming from all directions now. Literally everywhere at once. You turn your cat wildly in all directions. Echoes, that's what's happening. You're in a narrow stone canyon, and the sounds are echoing. That's why you can't get a good bead on where it's coming from. That's why it feels like it's coming from all around you at once. This has to be it. You try to press on, but in turning around, you are no longer certain which direction onward is. You, piggybacking on Scratch Fever's mind, are helplessly lost in the darkness. Cancel Eyes of the Beast. You cancel the channel, abandoning your best friend forever in the abyssal darkness. As Scratch Fever is in determinate distance from you and doesn't actually know which direction leads back towards you, he quietly despawns, engulfed in the shadows. Scratch Fever has lost 25% happiness. Scratch Fever's happiness is now 50%. Scratch Fever is definitely hungry. Scratch Fever has despawned. Whew. Still made a couple of mistakes, but I'm not perfect at reading. I think I made a lot less mistakes. Usually when I read scripts, I make way more mistakes than I've made reading this. And that's usually after I've gone over it. And this is actually, this is about as long as what my scripts usually are, about 10 minutes long. I'm surprised I only made 5 or 6 mistakes from all of that, from reading words incorrectly. Oh, but this is what practice is for. Practice in a thing which I can't edit. Oh, which I could edit if I wanted to, but I specifically don't. That way I can practice this. But I already mentioned that in my last video. I'm not going to mention that every time I do one of these. Okay, so on to part 3.